Hello my friends, back again with another video today, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 do nots for your 1911. Now, look, I'm not trying to be controversial here because I know there's going to be some people in the comments, I'm sure, who do these things. These are just my opinions. It is born out of experience, my experience. It's anecdotal to everybody else, but it's the same with you guys. Your experience means a lot to you, right? You know, there's those people who maybe had a bad experience flying and they never want to fly again. And doesn't matter how much data you throw in their face, their experience has a voice, right? It's very loud. And it's sort of the same with me. So take it with a grain of salt, but I'll try to explain as best I can, as objectively as I can, why I think what I think about these products. So, or these ideas. All right, so my top 5 do nots for your 1911. First one is shock buffs. So look, shock buffs are, and like so many things with the 1911, they are a solution where there wasn't a problem. And very often, you know, people come up with things maybe because they think it's a problem, but it's not a widespread problem or not objectively a problem. It's just a personal thing they have, right? Other times they come up with things just to sell a product. And in my opinion, that's exactly what this is. This is just a product to be sold. So what the shock buff does, and I'm going to take my GI pistol apart, show you guys this. As you can see, I do have Wilson Combat shock buffs. I bought them a couple years ago just to give it a shot. Well, not a couple years ago, many years ago. And essentially, the way these work is these go on your GI plug like so. Or I guess you could put them on a full-length guide rod too. I'm not going to slide it all the way down, but you can see it slides up against the back portion of the spring plug there. And the idea is that when the slide reciprocates to the rear, the slide is hitting the plug. Okay, you see how that works? The slide is smacking into the spring plug. And the idea is you put that pad there and it's like dampening the felt recoil, right? And this one's so funny to me. Increasing the life of the pistol. You mean the same pistols that didn't have that for 100 years? And there's a lot of the original pistols from even World War I when the metallurgy was crap and the heat treating was crap, and they're still shooting today. You mean those ones that we need to extend the life of? Give me a break. Man, wrap me in a tortilla, call me a burrito. That's ridiculous. Here's why I don't like them. 2 very quick reasons. One is when the slide is cycling to the rear, right now it is locked back with the slide. But as you can see, I can actually pull it a little bit further to the rear. You see that? It goes just past. Now I can let it go. Okay? That shock buff reduces how far back I can pull my slide. On some pistols, it will prevent you from being able to pull the slide back far enough to release it off of the slide release. And that is a problem. So you're messing with the recoil cycle of the pistol. On top of that, you are, again, even if it does work and you're able to pull it back and get it to operate, these are still reducing how far back your slide can go, and you're messing with the recoil, the overall design of the weapon. I just think it's a bad idea. When I tried these, I'm going to roll in the picture. This was after 1 day of shooting 150 rounds. I want to say somewhere around the 120 round mark. All of a sudden, the pistol slide would not reciprocate. It was completely jammed up. And I got out my rubber mallet, and I cranked on that thing a little bit, and I tried to pull it. I couldn't get it apart. So eventually, I had to take it. I was at my granddad's house. I had to take it into his shop, put it in a vise, and, I mean, really pull on it. Really crank on it with that rubber mallet. I finally was able to get it to break open, right? And what had jammed it up was that shock buff. That shock buff disintegrated, and completely rendered that pistol inoperable. Now, there's going to be people who come in here and say, oh, my shock buffs last 1,000 rounds. I've never had that happen. Okay, well, look, I wasn't shooting some like supercalifragilistic rounds out of that pistol. It was just Winchester, right? Just good old service grade. Nothing special there. 880 feet per second. It's not plus P, okay? There's no reason that thing should have disintegrated according to how amazing they are. So for me, the shock buff is a solution where a problem doesn't exist. Leave those out of your pistol. The pistol's been working fine without those for over a century. Next one, flat wire springs. Once again, and I love you guys who use these, okay? Hugs, love, I'm not upset at you. I don't think you're a dummy. But also, I think flat wire springs are completely pointless and are a solution where a problem doesn't exist. So let me give you an example. A good Wilson Combat recoil spring is $8, okay? In flat wire springs, what they advertise to you is that you get longer life out of the spring. Okay, so a standard recoil spring lasts somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 rounds. Do you know how much 5,000 rounds is at the current going rate of 45 ACP? That's over $2,100, and I'm being conservative. So what you're telling me is after I've spent $2,100 and put 5,000 rounds through my pistol, that I'm going to be burdened by $8 having to change the recoil spring out? I don't know about you, but that math sounds like something that Congress would participate in. That doesn't work for the rest of us with functioning brains. So this idea that I have a problem with the life of my spring, I'm not so sure you do. On top of that, what I have noticed is that flat wire springs, the way they build energy and the way they start to bind up and the way you gather poundage in the spring is different. You don't have the same spring potential halfway through the cycle that you do with a standard carbon steel or spring steel spring. And so for me, I think flat wire springs are pointless. I don't think they do what they report to do. And I don't think this idea that my spring needs to last longer. Look, if recoil springs cost like $750 and this one is going to last 3 times as long, heck yeah, I'm buying flat wire springs. Let me in on that action, right? Guys, they're $8. And you're going to spend a couple $1,000 to wear that spring out, and you're telling me that you don't want to spend $8 to get it back in order? Come on. Come on. Number 3, torque screws. So, for those of you who don't know, 1911s need to have flathead screws because that is proper. It's the way John Moses Browning and the Lord intended. But some guns come with torque screws. Now, I have replacements on the way, but here's the problem with torque screws. When you're using a screwdriver to screw in flathead screws, the screwdriver is like this, right? And so the amount of torque you can get on that screw is a little bit limited. Whereas when you use an Allen wrench, what are you doing? You're turning that sucker sideways and you're cranking on it. And so you think you're using the same amount of force like this as you would like this, but it's way more. And you risk doing 2 things: stripping out your bushing and stripping out the Allen screw itself. Grip screws, as long as you use O-rings, the little grip screw gaskets, as long as you use those, you don't have to tighten your screws down that tight, and you don't risk stripping out your bushings. These are a solution where a problem did not exist. Now you got a couple options that'll help you. VZ Grips sells these, and these are the real thick ones you can see there. But they're a little expensive. I want to say it's like, I don't even know, $12 for 4. You can go on Amazon and get these, right? Oops, I'm holding them upside down again. You can get those. Chalice grip screw O-rings. You can get a 24 pack for $10. Now they're thinner and they don't last as long, but you get more of them. So pick your poison there, right? But really what these do is they go underneath the head of your screw and they allow you to bear down on that rubber. It acts as a vibration isolator, so you don't have to tighten as tight, and it also keeps your screws from backing out under firing conditions. So, and then also if you use a properly sized screwdriver, you will never strip out your grip screws. Whereas these guys, you are just constantly at risk of stripping out the screw. You're over torquing the grips. I think they're a mistake across the board. So this is a definite do not for your gun. In fact, just today, I took off my grip panels just to clean underneath those because I accidentally got a little bit too much oil on the back here. I wanted to get that out. And when I was backing out the torque screw, the grip came off. The grip bushing came with it. So I pulled out my grip bushing. These screws are designed to be torqued. That's why they're called torque screws. It's a mistake on a 1911. I have stripped out a frame before using these screws, and it is a nightmare. So if it was me, I'm getting rid of these immediately. Number 4, guide rods, full length. No thanks. So when I got this Kimber, it came with a full length guide rod, and I kept it in there for my 262 round test that I did with it. And really, not really a test, just shooting it to enjoy myself. I left the guide rod in there because I said that I would. But here's the problem. Once again, you're going to notice a theme throughout this video. These are a solution where a problem did not exist. The claim from full-length guide rods is it makes your action smoother, it makes the gun more reliable, it reduces felt recoil. Guys, these are snake oil products. These pistols, once again, you got to contend with history. These people that claim these things, you, not me, you guys, I say this with love, you have to go and get in a fist fight with the history books because these pistols, the jury's out. The cat's out of the bag. We already know that a standard GI system works. It's been doing it for a century, okay? Here's my problem with two-piece guide rods. One is it makes the gun unnecessarily heavy, right? So Kimber goes and puts in a plastic mainspring housing on their pistols to lighten the pistol. And then they put in a all-steel guide rod? So they make the gun heavy for no reason. They also make the gun annoying to take apart. But here's the big problem. They are another part to go wrong. So two-piece guide rods are the worst. You know, they just screw together and all that. And those, I have had one unthread itself while I'm shooting and just the front half of the guide rod disappear into the berm. And really, I didn't notice till the end of the day. And I took the gun apart and I'm like, oh, guess I don't need that anymore, right? Now, the one piece are better for that, but even so, again, it's unnecessary. It's not really doing much of anything. I don't think it's helping your action. It's certainly not making your gun more reliable. I don't buy that at all. So, to me, this is just added weight. It's added complication. I think this is a do not for your pistol. Number 5, officer length 1911s. Now, look, I'm not a fan of short 1911s in general. But I think, and here's why. Let me explain myself. When you start shortening the barrel, that means you have less pressure, or you have a change in pressures and lock time and the recoil weight, right? All the stuff starts changing with the recoil and the feed of the pistol. And now you got to increase spring weights. And now you got bullets getting slammed harder. And now the magazine's going to act different. And you just start to change the gun altogether, okay? And really, those lengths are not really getting you anything. They're not getting you more reliability. They're not getting you any more accuracy. They're not tougher. They're not making you shoot better. They don't last longer. What do they get you? A couple ounces? I just don't think it's worth it, right? But particularly when you get to the officer length 1911s, they just don't work that well. They're a different pistol, and they just don't work that well. I'm going to advise you, just from my personal opinion, and I say this with love, steer clear of the officer length. If you really feel like you got to get a shorty, Commander's the shortest I would go, and even those, questionable. So there's a lot more that I wanted to add on this list, but that's my top 5. What are your 1911 do-nots? Now, I will say some honorable mentions, things that are do-nots for me. No offense if these are do's for you. Alternate material 1911s, like aluminum frames, bull barrels, anything other than God's caliber 45. Double stacks. Like, I could go down the list, but I think the ones I've talked about here are the ones that really do have silly excuses for existing, and I just think they're going to earn you more problems than solutions that they give you. So there you go, guys. That's my top 5. What are your top 5? I want to hear your 5 do-nots for the 1911. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.